All right, we're recording. All right, thank you very much for joining. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year to the customers I haven't talked to yet. We're continuing our monthly customer webinars. We've been doing them for over a year and a half now, and we've done product updates, we've done new solution overviews, we've done a lot of different stuff, and we record those sessions, and they're now on our YouTube channel. Right, if you don't know where that is, or you want me to send you the link, let me know. I'll send it to you. One of them that we just posted, I believe it was last month, was the SV9500, and we went into kind of a technical deep dive overview of that solution. So that one's on there, and there's quite a few others. This year we're going to change it up a little bit. I've been asked by a few customers for some ideas, and they suggested that we do kind of an IT discussion / conversation, right? So let's get on. I'm going to set it up probably next month for the next one, and it's around what IT topics are a concern, or do you want to learn more about? So we're going to set it up where it's kind of you get to talk to your peers, ideas, and then we'll have some IT specialists from NEC as well on the phone, and some of our guys as well, some of our solution architects. So stuff like Dave, you and I talking about the Bluetooth thing, right? Stuff like that. So if you have any ideas or suggestions prior to the call, send them to me, and we'll make sure we address them on that conversation. So we're going to do a couple of those. We'll continue to do some product updates and overviews and all that good stuff throughout the year. So, thank you again for joining. So to kick off this year, I'm pretty excited about having these two guys join us today. These two guys are very experienced and respected in our industry, experienced leaders. Paul Disu, who is the CEO of Forerunner, is on today, and he's going to provide an overview of Forerunner and give you our vision and our direction as an enterprise solutions integrator. Larry Levenberg is on. He's the Vice President of Sales for the Americas for NEC. And he's going to provide an update on NEC, the position in the marketplace, NEC's vision, and he's also going to provide quite a few interesting case studies, some customer case studies on how they've solved customers' problems. So that's today's topic. So with that, we got an hour, so I want to give these two guys as much time as possible. And then at the end, we'll open it up for any questions you might have, okay? Does it sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's bring up the presentation, if I do it right this time. Okay. Does everybody see... Okay, how is that? Everybody see the Forerunner slide? Yeah, that's good, Steven.
That's good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Paul Disu.
Thank you, Stephen. I certainly appreciate the compliments and the introduction. I don't know if my wife would agree with all those nice things you said about me, but, after the call, you give her a call, let her know, okay?
I will.
The first thing I'd like to do, of course, is just thank everybody for your time and attention. I know how busy everybody is. This is a difficult time. Well, everybody's got a lot of things on their plate. I will try to be as informative as I can and as efficient as I can in my words, so everybody gets the maximum value out of this presentation. The goal, of course, is just a small corporate overview of Forerunner Technologies and I would call it the organizational psychology of our business and how we have transformed ourselves from the traditional UC partner into somebody, I think, who is leading the charge in the transition to the IT space with all of our voice and applications. So I think the first slide really is just our new rebranding to represent the culture of the organization. So we have a new logo, a new branding, new website. This is a great informational portal for our clients and our employees and sometimes our competitors, because we see who looks, right, to get information information on the products and the services. There's a whole digital media content section now which shows great videos and informative videos on the emerging technologies and where we're going in the industry. As Stephen said, we have our new YouTube site, our new Vimeo site, and all the social media connectivity into these applications. I think it's a good, efficient, informative way to present information instead of getting cold calls from your account rep. So I think it's a nice way you can respond accordingly at your convenience in an a la carte method. The voice application or unified communication space that we reside in is on a blazing, fast-paced transition. We are very quickly becoming part of the application fabric and a layer on the IT network, okay? So this fact, of course, which we, identified years ago, drove Forerunner to prepare for this transition, this movement in the industry, and ensure that we pick industry leaders like the NEC Corporation to ensure the migration path was a solid one for our customers. I think it's important, if you can go to slide 3, Stephen, please, that everybody understands our NEC relationship and why I think we have such a successful partnership between the two organizations. First, it's foundational. It goes back 28 years for myself and the NEC executive team and a lot of the partners at Forerunner Communications. Of all the awards are great, triple diamond and fastest growing, that's fantastic. But I think what we really look for, okay, was the opportunity to leverage that foundation and convert our UC customers into what we now call the smart enterprise space. And you'll hear a lot about the smart enterprise and what that means. Couple of the success stories, we were the first to take an NEC 9500 and virtualize it on an NEC fault-tolerant server. That was trailblazing a couple of years ago. We were the first partner to deploy software-defined networking, NEC software-defined networking, SDN, into an enterprise UC solution platform. We are an exclusive smart enterprise partner which continues to combine the NEC UC applications and the NEC IT products and services into an overall migration solution for our customers. Some of the additional emerging technologies, we're an exclusive partner for the Neil Face Watch software platform, biometrics and facial recognition. We are an exclusive partner through NEC for Dell and their PoE switches to provide OpenFlow, which I'll explain a little later. And that's the technology foundation that we're building upon. Next slide, please. The next part of the foundation for Forerunner is our business philosophy. There's nothing complicated about the philosophy. It is, of course, the golden rule. You know, customer satisfaction is our main priority. Treat the customers, and build that foundation for a long-term partnership, okay? And how you do that is through execution. I think there are a lot of people that say the customer always comes first, but being able to execute on that promise is something different. I think we have a proven record in doing so in the industry. We have long-lasting customers that go back over that 25 to 28-year relationship that we've had with the NEC customers and the NEC manufacturing relationship. So, Stephen, you can click the next slide. Thank you. Big part of that philosophy is who you surround yourself with. I think one of the most successful things that any organization can rely upon is their people. So being in the industry long enough, we're very careful and we make sure we have a fantastic employee mix at Forerunner, 128 and growing very rapidly, but more than 50% of the employees are technical, engineers, technical staff, application specialists, okay, product specialists. This is an important part of being able to implement these strategies and execute the service and maintenance of them after the deployment, okay? very small sales organization, and of course, a pretty deep operational staff as well. Stephen? Where do we start? Our migration started with our over 8,000 active customers that we have across the United States today. These customers have purchased within the last 12 months. That's how we identify an active client. But I'd say 25 to 30% of the active customer list has already migrated to some form of IT integration and migration of their NEC voice application platforms to some sort of server environment. And that's important for us to continue to drive that. It also, because we have the success of these customers and success of deploying these emerging technologies, has given us an advantage in what we call the net new space, right? Customers who have invested in other products and have had them for 5 or 7 or 8 years, and they realize maybe their total cost of ownership was, much higher than what they perceived it would be, and they are looking to make a move and a transition in this space. NEC and Forerunner have positioned ourselves to be a disruptor in that decision and to position the NEC brand, to protect the NEC brand, to ensure that it continues to grow and remain successful in the industry. That's something we're both extremely proud of. Stephen? This piece too, this is, I guess, one of the final pieces of the foundation of the organization. This is just a sampling of our enterprise managed care services, but the managed care services, this is how we're able to deploy to that base of customers. It all started here. The managed care services client allows Forerunner, in a lot of these instances, they're outsourcing the service and the maintenance of not only the voice applications, but specific slivers of their IT infrastructure. As the voice application started to leverage PoE and leverage servers in the environment, when it moved from that closet in the basement off of an MDF and ITF with punch downs into the 19-inch rack and the data room, that allowed Forerunner and NEC to now expand that relationship in the data room and present a robust migration strategy, but also the service and the level of expertise needed to manage and maintain those applications in the data center. Now, these are some great customers of ours. We leverage those relationships. These were our early adapters in this migration strategy. Stephen? An additional change and improvement in the organization is you kind of have to live in a parallel world when you talk about the UC space, because in a lot of instances, in most instances, clients are not forklifting this. They're looking for a strategy to migrate their UC applications, voice applications, into the transition in the IT space, and how do they do that? So we need to, as a service organization, be able to not only manage and maintain your old products and services the way that we used to do with truck roll, right, and call in for tech support, but we also need to be on the other side where our TAC is now a NOC as well. Being able to support you and support your Mac is still a tradition, but being able to recreate your environment in a troubleshooting session, that's an important task. Being able to program it, build it, test it in a lab environment before we deploy it is a huge advantage against our competitors. And it also creates, I would say, not a simple, but an easier implementation process, because a lot of the stuff has been tested. We actually can recreate a LAN and a WAN in the lab environment, make sure it was all up and running on your parameters before we move it over. So that's, that's our process for new installations and how we continue to manage and maintain existing infrastructure at the same time. Stephen? This next slide is really the bulk of the conversation. This is when Stephen talks about how in the future webinars it's going to be more of a roundtable and a discussion, a migration strategy and more of an IT-centric conversation. This slide kind of shows what we're talking about. This is the realistic piece of how it's happening at Forerunner, this evolution of the smart enterprise. And of course, the evolution of the smart enterprise is wrapped around our core business, which is still our UC clients. But as we continue to move the voice applications, we move them to NEC fault-tolerant servers. Then we start to virtualize those servers. So once you start talking to a customer about virtualizing an application, like all their voice applications, and virtualizing them, it leads to other applications that could reside on NEC servers as well. In this instance, the conversation leads to, hey, let's co-locate, because we're virtualized, in a second data center. So in essence, we are creating a private cloud environment wrapped around NEC voice applications and NEC servers and virtualizing them. This checks a lot of boxes for our IT organizations, right? They're virtualized, they have a disaster recovery model, they're in the cloud in a private capacity, which is very cost efficient. They have a NOC monitoring these servers in addition to that. That conversation says, okay, now that we have all the servers, let's talk about HydraStore. What kind of storage requirements do we need? So we work with NEC and their HydraStore products, and we talk about either premise storage or hosted storage, right, backed up in some instances by Iron Mountain. And when Larry talks about NEC, he'll get a little bit deeper and wider on some of the examples that this is already happening. Well, one of the other next conversations that happens in this evolution is now that we have servers and storage and we are moving the voice applications to these servers, how are we going to safely isolate the voice network, which is something that's very important to the IT staff. Isolating the voice network is extremely important to them. Making sure it's secure and then managing it with a GUI interface. And this is where NEC has shined. The software-defined core from NEC is a global leader in the industry, right? Their software-defined networking is the leader. They are the trailblazer, and they're getting tons of accolades in the industry for their SDN core. We certainly like it because, again, we're deeper and wider in your IT space, and we have the core of your applications on the voice side sitting on an SDN controller. That makes it a lot easier to have future discussions on what other applications you're going to start to layer on to that SDN core. And it's an important piece of the foundation of the IT network. When deploying an SDN network and a new IP infrastructure, we chose to partner with Dell and their PoE switches with OpenFlow, and this was to further intellectualize this voice network. So the combination of NEC's SDN controller and the Dell PoE switches, which, by the way, we buy from NEC, and their strength of relationship with Dell keeps the costs down, and the technology on par, has been a great strategy for us. Okay? Our next step for these smart enterprise customers were, okay, what's the best approach to the next layer? Well, we were already pulling cable infrastructure to the IP endpoints, already pulling cable to the Wi-Fi endpoints, and in a lot of instances, the physical security endpoints or the cameras. So our next strategy was to have a conversation about physical security. So we took the Wi-Fi endpoints and we took the camera endpoints and we said, let's layer them onto the second layer, VTN2 of the SDN core, and create a second secure, isolated network for the physical security devices. Layer in some cybersecurity software, enhance the security protocols, and have a rock-solid second layer on the core. The next exciting conversation when it came to physical security was, hey, let me have your cameras come alive. Let me talk to you about NEC's NeoFace Watch, their biometrics and facial recognition software, and add that application onto the server, and have your cameras come alive. This has been a fantastic conversation with customers, and Larry Levenberg will speak to some of these applications. The traditional ones are obvious: access control, gathering information, for customers, blacklists, VIP lists. Those are all obvious ones, but what's happening is this is almost a white sheet of paper, and our clients are coming up with application-driven ideas to leverage facial recognition to improve the efficiency in their business and gather more information. It's been a very exciting ride to watch this happen. One of the last pieces of the conversation is, now that we've intellectualized both the voice applications and some of the physical security applications, we can help you on the WAN side. So let's have a robust conversation about software-defined WAN. And when we talk about SDW solutions, we're talking about real-time application fabric information on traffic to the WAN. What application is requiring the exact amount of bandwidth at the exact amount of time? And what this resulting in is really a removal of the remote router. And the application software fabric software makes the decision for prioritizing how much bandwidth you need on that AI information it's been gathering. So when you talk about the cost of removing routers, you talk about the cost that most people in their WAN, once they realize how much bandwidth they're using, can shrink their bandwidth utilization by almost up to 50%. You start saving a lot of operating expense and creating a lot more efficiency with applications pushed to your WAN. To wrap that all up, managed care services with Forerunner to help you manage and maintain these new emerging technologies along with all these applications in your environment. That really is the Forerunner and NEC story of all of 2017 and roaring into 2018. This is not a theoretical conversation. This is a practical conversation where we've deployed this to multiple customers across the United States. So, Stephen, if you could hit the next slide. This was one of our most successful case studies of the Vox Electronics Corporation here in Long Island, New York. They were one of our first smart enterprise case studies where they have deployed the technology that I'm referring to. They've utilized NEC SDN, voice applications on the IT network, Dell PoE switches with OpenFlow, okay? And now the physical security piece is being rolled in the Vox Corporation. Vox is a great case study because you actually can go on our website and you could look at the video case study. NEC flew in a wonderful film crew to sit down with Vox and really discuss what problems did we solve in their environment with the Smart Enterprise solution. And in addition to Vox, there's a company like Segway, which was a huge case study for NEC Hydra Store. A lot of success stories with our VA hospitals who are all looking to virtualize their NEC 9500s onto NEC fault-tolerant servers and co-locate them. The U.S. District Court in Manhattan has been a great success story for us doing the same thing. So there are a lot of success stories wrapped around the Smart Enterprise, and we're happy, of course, to continue to discuss them with you, explain the problems that they've solved in those customers' environment. So, last slide. This is the fun slide, of course. Part of our new branding is our colors, and choosing the colors, we wanted to choose colors that we thought really represented the culture of the organization. So this is a fun slide. The color blue, it stands for knowledge, gold for value, that's an obvious one, but silver, my favorite, clarity of purpose, because we do have a clear purpose in migrating our customers, having these conversations of how we're moving into the IT space and how we can help our clients do this. So again, I thank you very, very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. And of course, I'm always available for questions, either directly or through Stephen. And I certainly hope you enjoy the next piece of this, which is Larry Levenberg from NEC. Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. All right. Let me skip over here to Larry's presentation. And make sure I'm, oh, no. I'll figure it out, I promise. All right, how does that look?
That looks good now, Stephen.
Okay, all right, Larry, you're on.
All right. Thank
you, Paul.
Stephen. Yeah, thank you, Paul, and thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the nice introduction you did earlier. And I would like to just comment on the new way that you're looking at putting together the WebExes with the customers and kind of more of a roundtable. Let's discuss what the issues are, because to me, that's really the powerful activity that we need to do. Let's find out what the problems are of our customers, and they can tell us better than we can, dictate to them. So I really like where you're going with those, Stephen, and please utilize my team as much as you can to help you with those series of webinars coming up. And Paul, your presentation really set up, I think, mine very well. I will say that, as a manufacturer, we try and build out the solutions that meet the market. We try, as a leader and forefront in technology advancements, and we have a lot of first in the industry. None of that works without great partners, partners like Forerunner that can go and execute at the customer level. So your slide, I think it was number 9, the one that has all the circles, the one we all really can attest to. That is the picture, right? It's bringing all the technologies together to solve the customer's problems, and then bring it full circle around to do that. So nice slide, Paul. And then, of course, most importantly, I want to thank the customers that are online here that have taken the time out of your busy days to listen to this, to listen to me talk a little bit about NEC, to listen to Forerunner talk about what they do. We do appreciate it. I know your time is extremely valuable, and I hope that, what I can do today is maybe just spark some thought as to some of the use cases that I will talk about and bring up as to, what in my business could I use these applications or solutions for? How can I take what I'm seeing other companies do and maybe parlay that into my business, and then get the Forerunner involved to make those deeper conversations and have those conversations. So let me get started, Stephen. I'll try and move along fairly quickly to stay within our timeline here. So if you go to the next slide, please. So first, this is a slide that goes back in history to talk about a lot of the things that we've done. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time. I could spend a lot of time on this slide, but that's not what this presentation is about. And I certainly know that as NEC longtime customers, you may have seen similar presentations from NEC in the past, or been to user groups or whatever, and seen our story. But the important point of this entire slide in our entire history as a company, to me, is how we continue to stay relevant, engaged, and energetic in what we do as a manufacturer and an innovator. As being a company that's almost 120 years old and had many firsts in the industry, as you can see on the slide, first domestic PBX, first broadcast of the Olympics in '64. We built the first supercomputer, the fastest supercomputer that's used as a Earth simulator still today for predicting weather patterns all over the world. I mean, lots and lots of patents that we've done over the years. But what's most important to me is in that top right sector of this slide is that just recently, being a 120-year-old company, we got voted as and recognized as one of the 50th most innovative companies in the world by Boston Consulting Group. So I'm very proud to be part of a company that over 120 years can stay relevant, stay ahead of the game, and be at the forefront of technology as technology has rapidly changed over the years. For NEC to stay up and to be in good company with 50 of the most innovative companies in the world is a very proud thing that the Boston Consultant Group had laid out with us recently. So very proud of that. Steve, you can go to the next one, please. So we talk about smart enterprise. You saw what Paul did when he took what is our core, our voice, and then moved it through the circle as to where we can look at other technologies that make sense. And that's really the idea NEC has as a company. We build and have always had our core technology has been unified communications. And I would guess that most of the customers listening to, most of you out there listening today, have probably got a form of our communication system. But what we want to do is build from that core. And since we are a leader in many different technologies, we need to be able to offer those technologies to our core customers. And so over the last several years, we've made a very concerted effort to bring those technologies into what we call a smart enterprise portfolio. Years ago, we'd have different divisions that would sell different products and different solutions, and sometimes the two would never meet. So partners like Forerunner could never come to their customer base and say, hey, look, we've got more than just communications, call centers, wireless mobility. We have all these other things that NEC has to offer, and we're going to bring them to you and see if they make sense for your business. So things like servers and storage, analytics, software-defined networks, as Paul talked about, Internet of Things. Well, what does that really mean, right? Those are sensors, those are endpoints, those are gathering data. All of what that data can do can be important for your business, no matter what you do, and no matter what your business is. So we do a lot of different things. And if you look down at the cloud, you hear cloud talked about by everyone. I'm sure you get pitched the cloud, and you've got to be on the cloud, and this is where you have to go because everything's going to the cloud. It is absolutely true that that is a great way to absorb or to consume technology, but cloud is just a delivery model. What NEC is uniquely positioned to do is we have all of these different technologies, and we can deliver them any way you want to consume them, whether it's on-prem, whether it's via a cloud, whether it's via a hybrid with some on-prem, some on cloud. Whatever the case may be, we've got the ability to deliver it to you which best suits your business. And that's really the power of NEC, of having all of the technologies and being able to deliver them any way that we choose. So not that I want to make light of cloud, because it absolutely is something that that is a viable way to deliver solutions. I just want to make sure that it's not the only way, and we deliver any way that makes sense for the customer, and we try and pride ourselves on doing what's best for our customers. Retail solutions, we also do a point of sale. 7-Eleven's is one of our largest customers in the world. Every 7-Eleven on the globe over the next 2.5 years of deployment will be deploying NEC point of sale equipment. So you will see 2 point of sales in most 7-Elevens across the U.S. as well as the rest of the globe here in the next 2 years. And again, companies like 7-Eleven who can choose anything they want out there and do a great job of looking at all competitors have chosen NEC, and we deploy that all across the globe. Biometrics, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I've got some good examples of facial recognition applications that might, again, spark some ideas with what some other customers are doing in that realm. So go ahead, Stephen, to market share, please. So getting back to this discussion of the core, where has NEC been very, very strong, and where are we building from? Well, we're building from our core UC technology, and today the latest market share information that we have globally is first half of 2017, NEC is #1 in market share worldwide, so 14.1%, slightly above our competitors. Stephen, you can go to the next one. And the next stat is for what we call SMB, which is small, medium business, under 100 lines. NEC is not only #1 globally, but also in North America. We're also #1 in market share. So again, just to emphasize, that's where NEC has built their customer base. That's where we will continue to focus our efforts as we bring more complementary technologies to our customers. Go ahead, Stephen. I'll give you an idea of the verticals that we focus on, as well as some of the customers that are in those verticals. We may even have some of you on the line that your logo may be up in these boxes, and we're very proud to enjoy relationships with many large household names. If you look at the bottom 4 verticals, those are the ones that we have been focused on mainly from an enterprise standpoint in education, government, hospitality, and healthcare. And it's not only the solution that we bring to bear that makes us strong in these verticals, it's the entire ecosystem and the experience we have. You have to know how to do business in a healthcare environment. You have to know the HIPAA laws. You have to know the compliancy and some of the very, complicated systems that healthcare uses in order to be successful in that environment. So the ecosystem becomes very important, and the experience that we have in those areas becomes very important. So we have been strong in those 4 verticals, and we continue and will continue to drive those verticals in the future. If you look on the right hand of the slide there, those are some samples of some new customers that we've gotten in 2017. Some pretty good household names, right? You've got Apple, you've got the Department of Defense, you've got Visa, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Google Fiber, Princess Cruise Lines, recently their largest ship on the waters, recently bought our communication systems that is part of their ship, and we do a lot of cruise lines, but we were proud to get the largest one. The Orlando Resort, we do some facial recognition there, where if you're a passport holder, one of the executive holders of the Universal Studio annual passes, facial recognition will allow you to come up to the gate. So if Paul Dessous were walking up with his annual VIP pass, it would recognize Paul and his family. They would go through, wouldn't be waiting in lines, wouldn't have to stand in line with the rest of the folks, and then that translates into recognizing Paul and his family as they go through the park, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's at a ride, or whatever the case may be. But as you can see, that's just one application that makes life easier. And you're taking our facial recognition software and making the experience of visiting Universal Studios that much of a better experience for those who want to pay for that VIP experience. The Mets, I'll talk about what we're doing there. And then the LPGA, I'll have a little bit of a discussion there. We're very proud to be named as a technology partner for the LPGA. So go ahead, Stephen. So a couple of individual accounts that I'd like to just point out, and again, these are for really to try and show you what some of our larger customers are doing across the country to maybe spark some interest or you can see some value in maybe what they're doing and what you may want to do with your business. So State of Maryland has been a customer of NEC's for many years. They've got hundreds of our PBXs and SMB switches and routers and servers, and they've had this technology for years and years. What they recently have discovered and what they wanted to do as a state entity is they took what they call a department, a VoIP department, in their IT group, and they wanted to host a communications environment and begin to offer that hosted environment to all agencies within the state of Maryland. So in order to do that, they went to many manufacturers, and we were part of that selection, and we went through a vigorous set of tests, and they spent probably better than 6 months going through the competitors and beating us all up and making sure they put us all through the paces. And I'm happy to say that at the end of that, NEC won with our 3C hosted platform, software-based platform. And now what's happening is we are offering, I should say the state is offering to these other agencies a hosted environment. So let's say that their PBX is coming up to end of life, and instead of maybe wanting to upgrade that CPE, now they have an offer of a private hosted environment by the state for the state. And that is sometimes an attractive offering to go to a OPEX model versus a CAPEX model. 32 agencies, as you can see on the slide, have already taken advantage of that and have expanded to this hosted environment. So proud to say that the state of Maryland's been a customer for the last 25 years, and now with the approach they're taking, will be a customer for the next 25 years. So I'm really happy to be with customers like that and to be able to serve them. Go ahead, Stephen. Fairmont. So just recently, actually it's not even open yet, it's going to open in the middle of this month, middle of February. The largest Fairmont in the world is opening in Austin, Texas. And they went through also a pretty vigorous process of looking at who might be the best solution. They looked at BroadSoft, which is a hosted solution. They looked at Mitel, a competitor of ours in this space. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the Fairmont, who arguably is one of the most luxurious properties or hotel chains in the world, chose NEC. And they chose us because they believed that we were the right technology partner, we're the right fit, and we have the right partner community that can service them. It'll be opening this month in Austin. We're having our national sales meeting at their property come in April. I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to several more opportunities with the Fairmont. So we're proud to do business with them. Go ahead, Stephen. Visa, I mentioned Visa earlier as a new customer for 2017. I want to talk a little bit about what Visa does first. Everyone knows Visa, right? We all probably have a Visa card in our wallet or our purse. We probably use Visa on a regular basis, and you can imagine the transactions that we do ourselves. Try and multiply that with the amount of transactions they do globally. Just a stat that I like to talk about because it kind of blows me away is that they do 100 billion transactions annually worth $6.8 trillion. So that is a lot of data flowing in the halls of Visa and in their data rooms. And they also took a very exhaustive search onto who was going to be their backup storage. And as you can imagine, a company the size of Visa and the importance of the data that they utilize on a given day, minute, hour, they can only choose what they feel is the best equipment in the business, and they chose our HydroStore storage product for them. And we recently, got the first opportunity here in the U.S. We're since working on a deal in Singapore. We've got another one that we're working on here. So it's beginning to grow for us. And again, just proud to do business with a company like Visa, and we see another very, very long-term relationship building there. Go ahead, Steve. Stephen, did I lose you?
He may have gotten sidetracked.
Yeah, okay. Somebody else got his clicker. There we go. So this is Citi Field, where the Mets play. And one of the things that they needed or desired was that a couple of things. One was to be able to have a VIP experience and to be able to improve that VIP experience. So we used our facial recognition technology to put it to cameras in where they enter the building, where they enter the elevators to the suites, and where they actually enter the suites themselves. And so we call that a whitelist, where your most important VIPs can be recognized and you can build a better experience, similar to what we did at Universal Studios, but now it's at a ballpark. But they also had a couple of other applications they wanted us to tackle, and the other one was, as you can imagine, improve the security. Let's look at, the entrances, and if there's folks that are on our watch list, what is referred to as a blacklist, we want to be able to recognize those folks and deal with them appropriately. So we've also, tackled that piece of it with Citi Field. And the third piece, they wanted to also be able to use our facial recognition for their employees to be able to make sure that the employees were checking in on time and getting out on time. As you can imagine, maybe in your own businesses you may have an issue of folks that their friend gets there a half hour early and checks in for them in the timestamp. Well, this eliminates that and assures that your employees are there when expected, and they're safe, and they're leaving when expected and safe. So just another application. So all three of those are running at Citi Field in the Mets. So go ahead, Stephen. Another Chatham County recent win, and again, this is one of our case studies. So if you go online on NEC, you can find all of the case studies, and I won't go through this in detail. But the point being is the case studies are really detailed about what problems did we solve for this customer, right? What were some of their issues, and how did we solve it with with the Universe 3C. So they had a lot of different legacy systems. They didn't have one network control. They couldn't see everything from one screen, and they needed that one view to their entire network, and they were also having extensive labor costs because of disparate systems all over the county. So we were able to install a 3C for the entire county, and we solved a lot of those problems for them. And again, if you want to get more detail on that, those links below get you there, or you can go on NEC.com and find those links. Go ahead, Stephen. This is the one that Paul referred to, Vox International, the first UC SDN deployment, and it's a Forerunner customer who deployed this. We solved also some problems for them. They had some networking issues, some legacy network. They needed something that would interface and work with their unified communications, increase their capabilities, increase their workflow, and increase the network capabilities. And so they chose NEC, both the SD and the UC, and I'm happy to say they're a very happy customer who also has this case study on our site. So if you want to learn more in detail how they're using it and how they're utilizing it, please go on site and take a look at it. Go ahead, Stephen. Another one, another HydraStore. This is, and again, HydraStore is our very high-end storage that we've actually, I think, moved it down the line a little bit, so it's very affordable in smaller installations as well. And then a combination with what we call our N-Series storage, which is works in a little bit different capacity. But the challenge here at Seeing Technologies was the backups were taking far too long. They had a little bit older technology. They would take them, you know, to do 3 or 4 servers. It could literally take them to do 3 or 4 servers a night out of about 100 servers. So you can imagine when you want to back up a server farm of 100 servers at that kind of speed, it's really a laborious process. And certainly something they didn't want to continue to go through. So anyway, we put together a solution for them. Now they can back up 76 servers fully backed up in 8 hours. Made their life better, fixed a problem they had, and they found that we were able to fix that problem with NEC solutions. So again, another happy customer that's also, you can get more detail online about this. Go ahead, Stephen. This was kind of a fun one, but again, it's more about just making you aware of an application that a burger joint is using. Doesn't apply to your business, but the technology could apply to your business. So what they're doing here, and this is kind of a fun video, and I'd encourage you to look at it. And Stephen will, I think, send it to all participants after. But Cali Burger is a burger joint out in California, and the chain just this last Wednesday deployed their first live monitor with NEC's facial recognition in it. And what it's actually doing is it's capturing the data when you come into Cali Burger and you order whatever the order is, and your 5 kids order whatever their order is, it's capturing all that data the first time you do it. The next time you come to the restaurant, you can walk up to the display kiosk and you punch in, or it recognizes you, you confirm that it's you, and now it explodes with all of your previous orders that you've ordered, and now you just pick and choose and customize. They believe it's going to save the store a great deal of time and money, and of course it's all about giving their customers a better user experience, and they're finding that that is in fact happening. They test drove this for about 60 days before they released it on Wednesday of this week. So they're pretty excited about it, and this is a good example. As Paul mentioned earlier in his presentation, you know, it's really a whiteboard when we come to facial recognition and where it can be used and what can we do with it. The customers, like Cali Burger, are coming to us saying, hey, this is the problem I have. This is what I want to do. This is my vision. Can you guys figure it out and help us get there? And that's exactly what we did. This wasn't NEC coming to them saying, hey, look, I got this idea about, you know, having you come up to a kiosk and all your customers' orders will pop up. It's something that they thought of, brought to us, and we figured out a way to do it. So things like that, I just, you know, invite you to think about, you know, what it is that can help your business and talk to Forerunner about ways that NEC's technology can maybe help you get there. Go ahead, Stephen, the next one. I mentioned, so we're the official technology partner now of the LPGA. I don't know if we have any golfers out there online or any golf fans, but we are a proud technology partner of LPGA. We have signed up a sponsorship with them because we also provide them a great deal of their technology. The Stats Center, powered by NEC, so we are hosting all of their statistical information. And they've really, and again, it's a lot of what their CIO's vision is on how they take statistics to the next level. I mean, I'm sure if you've all watched golf, you've watched the PGA and the LPGA, and you see the amount of statistics that are thrown around. Well, those have become extremely important for all of the reporters and the announcers and all of that, and the real-time views become very critical to them being able to do their job better. And I can tell you the LPGA is now being watched by the PGA because of the leaps and bounds they have come up with their statistical centered, or their statistical center powered by NEC. What they have done there and what they've come up with now has far exceeded the LPGA, and the LPGA is now talking to us about doing similar things. And again, we host all of their technology out of our Iron Mountain, out of our partnership, I should say, with Iron Mountain Data Centers. So part of this is good that they're our customer. Part of this is, you know, some branding for NEC, which is great, but it's also part of fun. I mean, we'd like to make sure that we can have our customers and our potential customers come out to some of these events, and I invite you guys to be part of that. So I put a list up here of the next few events. Please reach out to Stephen or anybody within Forerunner who takes care of your business, and tell them which event you want to go to. Stephen will be coming to us for tickets and/or passes, and we'll be happy to set you up. So invite you to participate. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if you've ever been to an LPGA event, but I find it a lot more enjoyable than going to a PGA event because they're much more personable. The golfers talk. They're very team-oriented. You're very close to the action. When you're going up to watch Michelle Wee tee off, you're literally 4 feet away from her. You hear the club hit the ball. I mean, it's quite an exciting time, and it's a lot of fun. So I invite you all to please participate and get Stephen to get you some passes. I'm sure he did. Stephen's not shy. He'd be glad to host you out there as well. Anyway, that's kind of what I had today. Hopefully I kept us on track, and I just really appreciate your business. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I appreciate you know, your loyalty to NEC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. Great job, buddy. And I have no problem going with y'all to all these events. So let me know which ones you want to go to. Okay? Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. We got a few more minutes here before the hour's up. So why don't I open it up for any questions that you might have for Paul or Larry? Any questions for anybody out there? No? Make sure everybody is unmute. All right, everybody's unmuted. Is everybody good?
I'm good. I actually need to get rolling to my next meeting.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you all very much for joining. Please, you know, send me an email. Give me some topics, ideas for our next IT discussion gathering. And, you know, if I don't talk to you, have a great day. And thank you again for joining. Thanks, Larry and Paul.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks.
you.